I have great news. I have great news for everybody. Just fantastic news. The most amazing news you've ever heard. John Fetterman is back, ladies and gentlemen. John Fetterman is back. It was only a matter of time during this election season that we would see the return of John Fetterman, or as many of us know him, John Fetterwoman. But he was there in Philadelphia yesterday, and he was in front of the crowd, and he was throwing his support behind Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, the newly ordained Democrat ticket for President of the United States of America. And what we have, ladies and gentlemen, is very exciting. We have John Fetterman standing up on stage and saying the following.
Look, I'm a Yinzer. I'm a Steeler guy.
I'm a Yinzer. I'm a Steeler guy. A Yinzer, by the way, is somebody from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's what they call themselves. They call themselves Yinzers. I'm not really sure why, but that's what the whole thing is. And he walks into Philadelphia and he says, I'm a Steeler guy. I don't know if he knows what happens in Philadelphia to Steeler fans, but the Eagles fans are like the craziest, zaniest, wildest people that you've ever seen. They throw snowballs and ice at Santa Claus, and they dump beer on little kids' heads, and they beat up each other, let alone what happens to the opposing team. But he walks in there and he goes, look, I'm a Yinzer. I'm a Steelers guy, but we need to all band together for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
The choice just could not be any more stark than this. You know, this election is about moving our country forward with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. Or a couple of really weird dudes.
Okay, now I'm not sure what the protocol here is. I don't know. I mean, John Fetterman standing on stage calling Donald Trump and JD Vance a couple of weird dudes. Is it really? Is that really the best person for the job? I understand that that's their platform. Their whole platform is Harris-Walz, because the other dudes are just weird. I get it. They have no actual agenda. They have no actionable plan for should they get into office. Their whole thing is just trying to bully the other side, or bully you into voting for somebody who's not weird. But is having John Fetterman in his mechanic shirt and his gym shorts and his still questionable, mental capacity, is that the best person to get up on stage and proclaim that the other side they're just weird? Those Republicans, those are some weird dudes.
I work with JD Vance. I do. And I'm here to confirm that he is a seriously weird dude.
Again, I mean, I'm just like, how are we supposed to take anybody in this party seriously? How are we supposed to take anything that these people do seriously? When they want to express the message or convey the message that Donald Trump, that JD Vance is weird. JD Vance guy, that guy's a weirdo. That guy's a freak. You know who we should have deliver that message? Totally normal and mainstream John Fetterman. It's just like the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it? It really is. It's like, it's just, I don't know. It's like people, what do they say? People who live in glass houses shouldn't have strokes. Throw stones. That's one of those. It's one of those. That's where we've come from.
I work with JD Vance. I do. And I'm here to confirm that he is a seriously weird dude.
Look, if JD Vance is weird, then I don't want to be normal, folks. What's up? This is Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, and I'm so glad that you decided to join us. I'm so glad we have Katriots listening in from all over, and I know that the Katriots are listening in from all over because yesterday I took a deep dive on some of the orders that we've been getting on our Mark Kaye shop. The Mark Kaye shop, by the way, totally stacked with all new merchandise. Mark Kaye Saves the Republic merch. You've got t-shirts, and you've got hoodies, and you've got the mugs. The very mug that I drink out of every single day when I do my TikToks. The very mug that you'll see me sip out of. In fact, listen. That's me sipping out of my Mark Kaye Save the Republic mug, which you can get now at Mark Kaye Shop. There's Katriot gear. So if you want to let everybody know that you are a liberty-loving, freedom-defending Katriot, then you can go and get a t-shirt or a hat or whatever it is that you want at the Mark Kaye Shop. And don't forget, Merry Christmas is the coupon code. Merry Christmas in honor of Kamala Harris.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
That will save you 10%. But I did a deep dive into some of the orders just out of curiosity. And man, we have Katriots from sea to shining sea and all points in between. Just yesterday, we had orders come in from Georgia, not too far away from where we are, Virginia, Illinois, Washington State, Portland, California, which I always knew there were California Katriots, but I'm glad to see you guys are hanging tough, and Connecticut. So we are far-reaching, man. We are national and international, and of course, we do ship both nationally and internationally if you're willing to pay for shipping. So go to markkaysshop.com and pick up some merchandise. But yeah, look, I don't want to get off on a tangent with John Fetterman. This is Veep Week, and we'll get into Veep Week here in just a minute. I will say this: I woke up today and I had a little bit of my stomach was hurting, like a little tummy ache. I don't want to get too graphic, but I wasn't feeling. I was like, did I eat something? What was it? Oh, was it something I ate? What did I have for dinner last night? But then I realized whole family had the same thing. It was one of those rare occasions where we all ate the same food. Nobody was like, I don't like that. I don't like this. I have to make a separate meal for somebody, or, somebody wants a salad, whatever it is. But we all ate the same thing. Everybody felt great except for me. And then I realized I knew what it was. I was the only one who watched the entire Kamala Harris, Tim Walz rally yesterday. And it just did me wrong.
Good evening, Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
She sounds like the butler from the horror movie. Good evening. Good evening. And did you notice how she's suppressing the cackle? She's suppressing the cackle. She's taking cackle suppressants. Laugh suppressants, whatever you call them. But Kamala Harris, she wanted to cackle 8 different times during that opening, and she was biting her tongue. I think Tim Walz, his job is to pinch her. Because, he's kind of creepy himself. Tampon Tim, they call him, which we'll get to in there. And I think Tampon Tim's job at these rallies is to, whenever there's a moment, because it would have been an opportune moment for Kamala Harris to come out there and say, wow, good evening, and do her trademark cackle, which is a detriment to the entire campaign and the Democrat Party, and also our eardrums and also my stomach. So I think his job is to just pinch her or poke her or prod her or do whatever to remind her not to cackle. You must suppress the cackle.
Good evening.
He literally whispered something there to her. He was probably like, don't cackle, don't cackle. That's why they picked him, so that they could have a cackle-free Kamala. And I believe that as vice president, because let's be honest, look, as a running mate, you don't do anything. You don't do anything at all. You have one debate that nobody really cares about. Then you go into the Oval Office or the White House. You just kind of sit around and wait until something happens bad to the person who picked you. And then you get your chance to shine. But you don't do anything. So why not give this guy the job? Why not say, hey, you know what? You are the cackle police. And you're not very good at being the real police. We all saw what happened in Minneapolis during the George Floyd riots. We all know that you stink as a law enforcement person, but maybe you could get this witch to quit cackling, because we really need her. We really need her to suppress it. And he did a good job. She didn't cackle very much. I won't say there were times, and my stomach will attest that. But he came out, man. He gave his speech. And it made me realize once again that the Democrats have absolutely nothing to run on. They have no agenda. They have no plan for America. They have no ideas. They have no vision. All they have is the word weird.
These guys are creepy and, yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see.
And the crowd goes wild. And the crowd loves it when he calls everybody creepy. Oh, they're just creepy and weird as hell. They've escalated it now. It's not just weird. Now it's weird as hell. And so you've got these guys out there, and that's their only mojo. That's the only thing they can tell you. That's the only thing they can say about their opponents. Why? Well, because their opponents have done really, really great things. In fact, Donald Trump himself, he was on Fox and Friends this morning with our good buddy Brian Kilmeade. And I laughed because last time I saw Brian Kilmeade, he was wearing those Hey Dude shoes. You know, those Hey Dudes? In fact, I have the same pair of Hey Dude shoes. My former producer, Hannah, you may know, she got me a pair of those Hey Dude shoes, and they're like red, white, and blue. And I forgot to take them to the RNC, which would have been great. But in the end, it was a good thing I didn't, because guess who was wearing the same exact shoes? Brian Kilmeade from Fox News. So he's walking down the street in his Hey Dude shoes, and I said, "Hey Dude." Because that's what you do. But he was interviewing Donald Trump this morning, and they asked Donald Trump, "What do you think about this Tim Walz guy from Minnesota as Kamala Harris's vice presidential pick?" And Donald Trump said everything we were all thinking.
This is a shocking pick, and I think it's very insulting to Jewish people, and I think it's very insulting to people that want security. I think it's very insulting to anything having to do with making America great again.
It's an insulting, you know what? And it brings up a great point. It's an insulting pick to Jewish people. And Josh Shapiro, who, by the way, Josh Shapiro is not too Jewish to be the governor of Pennsylvania, but way too Jewish to be vice president of the United States. He was there, and he got a massive amount of applause, and everybody loves the guy, and he would have probably delivered Pennsylvania, which is the one state that you really need to win this election. And he had to tell everybody, he had to scream and yell at the top of his voice. He started going hoarse a little bit. His voice was cracking near at the end. His voice was cracking. I don't know if it's because he was sad that he had to introduce his other dude who's for the job that he really wanted himself. I don't know if it's just because it was too loud. But his voice was cracking so much. His voice was cracking so much that Hunter Biden tried to smoke it. Guys, John Fetterman called JD Vance weird.
I work with JD Vance. I do. And I'm here to confirm that he is a seriously weird dude.
I just love this election so much. I love this election so much. But Donald Trump was on Fox and he goes, "Yeah, that was a shocking pick. That was a weird pick because it's insulting to Jewish people. It's insulting to people who want security, which should be a lot of folks. It's insulting to anybody who wants to really make America great again, because this is not a guy who knows how to make America great again. He doesn't know how to make Minnesota great again. Minnesota's a pretty great place. I'm going to be honest with you. I've only been there, I think, one time, but I watched Little House on the Prairie all 9 seasons. And back then, at least, Walnut Grove, Minnesota, it looked like a pretty swell joint. They had some fun there. They went to the big city and all that other kind of stuff. But Tim Walz has made it an unlivable environment. And we know that because in the however many years since he's been governor, especially during COVID, during the mask mandates and the COVID lockdowns and the George Floyd riots and the burning of tires and the burning of debris that his wife got, man, his wife loved the smell of burning tires. It was really, I don't know if you saw that one. I think I may have that clip. I may not. I'll play it for you later. But his wife loves the smell of burning tires. I don't know what it is, but when the tires were burning in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, she was all about it. She left the windows open so she could just take all that great, all that radical liberalism, all that socialism. I love the smell of socialism in the morning. That's what she was saying. Anarchy running wild. That's like her favorite. It's her favorite perfume. But anyways, more people have left the state of Minnesota since he's been governor than have ever moved there. And even our own governor, Ron DeSantis, he made headlines yesterday because Ron DeSantis was out there saying, "I want to thank Governor Tim Walz because we have so many new Floridians because of his poor leadership. I want to thank Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota because here in Florida, we have more inhabitants, we have more workers, we have more money, we have more Republicans, we have more voters, and we have more electoral votes. And as a result, we have more representation in the Congress. And it's all due to Governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. We have gained 2 electoral votes here in the state of Florida. We have more now than the state of New York. And a lot of it is because of poor Democrat leadership. The poor Democrat leadership in all of these blue states during the pandemic. Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. What's her name? Kathy Hochul and the other guy who was a naughty. What's his name? Cuomo in New York. The tool bag in New Jersey who was arresting people for going on the beach by themselves. All of these folks, all of these governors, they drove people south. They drove them to Tennessee. They drove them to Texas. They drove them to Florida. And as a result, Ron DeSantis is like, hey, thanks so much for all the peeps. We love them. They left their politics in Minnesota. They brought new politics with them when they came to Florida. And as a result, Florida is the free state of Florida. And we're all working together to make America great again. But Donald Trump says, look, these are not good people. These are bad people they're not in line with the country and they're not going to make America great again. And he's 100% right. And all they can do, because if you go to Kamala Harris's website, there is still not any information. In fact, you know what? I'm going to pull this up. What is it? Kamala Harris. What is it? Kamala for president or something? Let me go to the website. Kamala Harris for president. And her website doesn't even come up first. Let's go to Kamala's. You know what we'll do? We'll go to her Instagram and then probably. Oh, yeah, here we go. Perfect. Support Kamala Harris. Let me pull this up real quick. This is just her Instagram. What even is her website? KamalaHarris.com. Should we go with that? Should we go with .org? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Harris-Walz. So let's go to the web. They want money, of course. Meet Kamala Harris. Meet Tim Walz. Take action and store. That's what we have. Let's win this. Join the campaign. They're all about the money. Let's go to Take Action. Well, Take Action is just give us some money. All right. Well, we're not going to do that right now. Let's go to Meet Kamala Harris. Meet Vice President Kamala Harris. She's devoted her career to fighting for the people. Here she is with her Indian mother one more time. Here she is at a reproductive freedom meeting in the U.S. Senate. Blah blah. Kamala. Okay. There's no. Let's see. Store, donate by mail. There's a lot of donation links. There's literally nothing about what she stands for. There's nothing on this website. Let's go to the store. Maybe it's in there. Maybe there's a t-shirt that shows what she, nope. Harris-Walz, and Harris-Walz on a camo hat because they think that if you put your name on a camo hat, people are going to forget the fact that you want to take away all of their guns. The Kamala Harris put Harris-Walz in safety orange, all right? Yeah, safety orange on a camo hat. You asked, we answered, the most iconic political hat in America. Really? Is that what we're going with? Is that what we're saying now? We're just forgetting about the millions and millions of Americans who have red Make America Great Again hats. We're just forgetting about the millions and millions of Americans who have multiple hats that say Make America Great Again, Keep America Great Again, Trump 21. The red hat. I think if you asked anyone internationally, hey, what's an iconic political hat? They would tell you the MAGA hat. Would they tell you that it was the camo Harris-Walz hat that was created 24 hours ago? I think not. But then again, telling the truth has never really been, I'm looking at it right here. It literally says, you asked, we answered, the most iconic political hat in America. I don't know. And then you can pre-order. Don't be fooled, folks. Just because it's in camo with safety orange doesn't mean that they don't want to take away your guns. They're going to come around and they're going to take away your guns. They're going to take away your high capacity magazines. They're going to take away whatever it is that you have the right to, because in that pesky Constitution, that horrible Bill of Rights, which has been a roadblock, a barrier, a brick wall in front of their real agenda, which they're keeping hidden from us, because they don't want us to know their real agenda. That whole thing tells you have the right to bear arms, and they want to take those guns away from you. They don't want you to have the right to bear arms because, well, it's much more difficult to keep people from overthrowing the government or starting a civil war if they're armed to the teeth. So what they're going to do is they're going to have a white guy from Minnesota who likes to hunt stand up there and say, hey, trust me, vote for us. We're one of you. And then he's going to put on his camo hat and come get your guns. That's how they work. That's how their liberalism works. That's how they do it in Minnesota. This is the most liberal ticket we've ever had. These are the new radicals. These are the, yesterday we lost Cory Bush. We didn't lose her. She's still there. She's just not in the Congress anymore. And that's a really exciting thing. And I have some of those clips coming up here in just a minute. But well, maybe we'll do it. Well, we'll do it in a minute. This is basically what happens. You have a bunch of liberals who decided they wanted to take over the country. Not just liberals, but far left-wing Marxist, socialist, anarchist liberals who are going to burn this country down. And they couldn't get in. They couldn't get in from the outside. It was, there were these big walls, these big ivory towers in Washington, D.C., and you had to get elected to actually go in and make any change. Sure, you could scream and yell and burn flags and chant and beat drums and do whatever it is you wanted to do outside. You could fill the Washington Mall every single day with hundreds of thousands of protesters for whatever the cause du jour was, but you couldn't make actual change in the United States of America unless you got elected. And how do we know that? Because Barack Obama, a radical from Chicago, read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. And right there it says, hey guys, you got to put on a suit. You got to take your jeans off. You got to take off your tie-dye shirts. You got to comb your hair. You've got to shower. You've got to put on a suit or a tie or a dress or a whatever it is, a pantsuit if you're Kamala, and you've got to get elected. Because screaming and yelling doesn't do any good. You have to get into the halls of Congress. You have to infiltrate that ivory chamber if you want to get any real change done. And Barack Obama led the way. And then we had the squad follow. AOC showed up, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Cory Bush, and Jamal Bowman, who pulled the fire alarm and they escorted him out. Well, Cory Bush left yesterday, and she basically, in her, I guess what would you call it? I guess you would call it a not an acceptance. What do you call it? What's the speech? Concession speech? I don't know if it was a concession speech as much as it was more like just, I don't know, threats. It was just a series of loud, angry threats. Less concession speech, more series of loud, angry threats. Here's what she said when she lost her prime, and it wasn't even it was the primary yesterday. And the primary was, she got hammered, man. She got just pummeled. She didn't just lose the primary. She got devastated. And this is not anything that's surprising at all, because Cory Bush is crazy. She's crazy. She's racist. She's anti-Semitic, and she pushes an agenda and has done all these things. And she's totally unqualified. But there's also that. I won't even play you the clip about her trying to explain taxes, but she has no understanding of basic economic systems. She has no understanding about the tax code, and she shouldn't be the kind of person writing the laws when she doesn't really understand how to interpret them. But I digress. Cory Bush, she lost her primary in Missouri, and there's a new representative who is pro-Israel. His name is Wesley Bell. And one of the big reasons she lost is because she's anti-Israel. She's pro-Palestine. And man, she was not happy about Jewish Democrats paying money to a candidate who pummeled her in the primary. And here's what she said in her concession speech / angry rant fest full of threats.
Pulling me away from my position as Congresswoman. All you did was take some of the strings off.
Now, when I first heard her say all you did was take some of the strings off, I thought she was talking about Tampon Tim. Because that's what they call him, Tampon Tim now. I don't know if you know that. That's the new. You hear about Tampon Tim, Cory Bush?
All you did was take some of the strings off.
I don't know if you're entertained, but I'm having a blast today. You may hate everything you're hearing, but I'm really enjoying myself, and I feel a lot better. Thank you. Thank you so much for asking. But no, but she was like, look, all you did was pull the strings off. Now that I'm not a congressperson, I can do some real damage.
Some strings that I have attached, and as much as I love my job, but all they did was radicalize me, and so now they be afraid.
All they did was radicalize me, and so now, curse word, they should be afraid. All they did was radicalize me, and so now, bleepity bleep, they should be afraid. So by removing her from office, by voting her out, by saying, you're not the kind of person that actually represents St. Louis, you're not the kind of person that actually resents Missourians, we don't really want you in the halls of Congress anymore. We'd like somebody who's, more mentally stable. if you will, to represent us from Missouri. By doing that, by going in and voting her out, by primarying Cory Bush, all we did was radicalize her. And now she's going to make everybody pay. Who's she? By the way, who is it that she's going to be? Who's she talking about there?
Some strings that I have attached, and as much as I love my job, but all they did was radicalize me, and so now they be afraid.
Yeah. Who is it that radicalized her, and who is it that should be afraid? Well, not shocking. It's the Jewish people.
AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down.
Yeah. AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down. Very interesting choice. It's a very interesting choice of words. AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down, because AIPAC is the largest pro-Israel PAC in the United States of America. AIPAC is, they have raised so much money, and they go out there and they spend money helping Democrats and Republicans who are pro-Israel. And she knows that the reason she lost was because of her crazy stance, her pro-Palestinian stance, the fact that she's part of the squad, the fact that she stands with Ilhan Omar, and the fact that she stands with Rashida Tlaib and AOC and all the rest of them. She knows that's why she's now out of a job. And she says, fine, I'm radicalized and I'm coming. You should be scared. You should be afraid, because I'm coming to tear your kingdom down. And that's a really stressful turn of phrase, because AIPAC is the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. But she's not saying, I'm coming after the committee. I'm going to make sure that people don't donate to you anymore. I'm going to shut down your committee. No, she said, I'm going to tear your kingdom down. And we all know that the kingdom she's talking about is the kingdom of Israel.
AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down.
Yeah, that's good. Next time we see Cory Bush, she's going to be in Congress, but she's going to be sitting in the circle of protesters that take over the vestibule, not the one holding the door open like she used to be. So that's the liberal agenda. That's Tim Walz, by the way. That's Tim Walz. That's Kamala Harris. And the reason that Tim Walz was chosen is because they realized, this whole Barack Obama, Saul Alinsky, let's get elected and go in there and make some change. It went a little too far. Barack Obama had a good run. He had 8 years there. He's still pretty much controlling things. You had another couple of operatives who were able to go in there and push their super hyper liberal agenda. Kamala Harris is one of them. AOC is another one. But then you get these wackos like Jamal Bowman and Cory Bush who take it too far. So they're taking a step back. They need somebody who is going to be enticing and palatable, and somebody who's going to be just, lovable and huggable, as CNN calls them. They need a big, old, cuddly teddy bear who looks like everybody's Minnesotan grandpa or uncle or whatever it is. And they need that kind of guy. We still want the liberal ideas. We still want the socialist mentality. We still want, what was it he said? We want the neighborliness.
One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
That's it. He is Cory Bush, but he's dressed up like, Mr. Rogers. he's like, hi, neighbor.
One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
By the way, I'm still coming to tear your kingdom down. But first, let's check in at the land of make-believe with King Friday and Prince Saturday and, Lady Elaine Livengood or what, I don't know, whatever their names are. It's been a long time since anyone in this house watched Mr. Rogers, you can tell. But he's the same guy. Cory Bush.
AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down.
Is Tim Walz.
One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
They are the exact same thing. They're just packaged up differently. And Kamala Harris believes that this packaging will be more palatable to voters. And that's why they put him on stage and they had him just yell and scream about how weird everybody is. But that's not it. He also attacked, and this is where it gets really bizarre. He attacked JD Vance. And again, I told you, it's Veep week. Another couple weeks. Let's get through Veep week, and then we won't have to hear from these guys ever again. It's like Shark Week. It comes around once a year, right? After this, it's going to be back to Kamala. It's going to be back to the DNC. It's going to be where's Joe Biden. It's going to be all Donald Trump. And then the only time we'll hear from the Veep is at the debate, which Tim Walz is very excited about. I'm not really sure why, but he he took a couple of slugs, and he took a couple shots at JD Vance when he was up there, accepting the nomination.
Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, JD studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is.
So this is weird to me because typically you don't hear Democrats trashing Ivy League institutions of learning. I mean, that is where they go to create new Democrats. That is where they go to it's like their factories, you know? That is, and yes, there's a lot of conservatives who go to these places too. Ron DeSantis went to Yale and Harvard. JD Vance went to Yale. The Bushes went to Yale. But the fact that your staunchest allies in the education system, the Ivy Leagues, are now being attacked by the potential vice president because JD Vance went there is a little bizarre. Also, how many of us have just been taught, nay, just browbeaten to death with the idea of growing up and going to a good college, that you need to make whatever it is you can. You need to take every opportunity. You are nowhere without a good, solid education. And here's JD Vance coming from the foothills of the Appalachia in rural Ohio with nothing. A mom who's strung out on drugs, a grandma who's dirt poor, working so many jobs she can't even spit. And he gets into Yale and he goes and meets his wife, an immigrant who went to Yale, or her family were immigrants rather. And she went to Yale and they came out and they made a company and a corporation, and he got elected to Senate, and he wrote a book and a Hollywood movie and all that. It's literally the American dream. And Tim Walz is up there saying, that's not, I don't know about that. Rural people where I do, they don't go to Yale. On Yale. It's really kind of a strange turn of events. He also brought up the old couch joke again.
And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird again that he would bring up showing up. And, well, you know what? I'll have JD Vance tell you. Because JD Vance had a press conference, was it yesterday? Well, yesterday he was on a plane and he said, you know what? I'm not at all shocked. I'm not at all shocked by Tim Walz as the choice for Kamala Harris's running mate.
They make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail. So it is more instructive for what it says about Kamala Harris, that she doesn't care about the border, she doesn't care about crime, she doesn't care about American energy, and most importantly, she doesn't care about the Americans who have been made to suffer under those policies.
It's a valid point and a really interesting point that while Minnesota was under siege, while Minneapolis was burning, and Tim Walz's wife was just breathing in those delicious burning rubber fumes. While that was going on, while these criminals and these thugs were taking over the city, while they were smashing windows, looting stores, while they were lighting police cars on fire, while they were burning down police stations, while they were putting people's lives in danger, while they were chanting defund the police and whatever else while they were just out, not to mention blowing right through the COVID mandates. They were just blowing right through the social distancing laws. No, none of that mattered. No one was wearing a mask when they were looting and rioting and burning stuff down. Tim Walz's wife wasn't even wearing a mask because she wanted to suck in all that joyous carbon monoxide fumes. But while that was going on, these people are getting arrested, and there's Kamala Harris sending money to bail them out so they could go back and continue to destroy Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I don't understand how these two got together in the first place. Tim Walz is like, hey, Minnesota's burning. Minneapolis is under siege. We're going to try to throw these people in jail. And Kamala Harris is like, oh, no, you're not. I'm just going to pay to let them right back out. And did they go home? No. They went right back to the streets and continued looting. But I digress. JD Vance also had some retorts this morning about Tim Walz's comments regarding his Yale education.
Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, JD studied at Yale.
And just like we said, he thought, I don't understand why that's bad.
They make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail. So it is more instructive.
That's also the wrong clip. Where, hold on, Vance. Oh, here it is.
I came from a family where nobody in my family had ever gone to law school. I grew up in a poor family. The fact that Tim Walz wants to turn it into a bad thing, that I actually worked myself through college, through law school, and made something myself, to me, that's the American dream. And if Tim Walz wants to insult it, I think that's frankly pretty bizarre.
Which is another word, by the way, for weird. I noticed. That's the thing. Tim Walz is calling everybody weird. Tim Walz is out there going, man, JD Vance, that dude is just so weird.
These guys are creepy, and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see.
Now what you've got is JD Vance using the Yale form of the word weird, which is bizarre. It's the SAT version. But he goes, you know what else is really kind of weird and something that we should probably bring up?
Well, you know what really bothers me about Tim Walz as a Marine who served his country in uniform? When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have to go.
That is something that if you look at, or if you think about, or if you investigate, is 100% accurate. You have a war hero in JD Vance who served as a Marine in an active combat situation, and then you have Tim Walz, who was a reservist. So he's so proud to tell you he was a reservist. For 24 years, he was a reservist. He was a reservist as long as there was peace. But as soon as he got his marching orders, he was like, hey guys, listen, I don't know. I'm going to go teach at a school because this isn't really my bag, baby. And JD Vance says that's an important differentiation. And not only did he dip out on his fellow servicemen and women, not only did he neglect to answer the call of duty, but he also apparently is now stealing valor.
He said we shouldn't allow weapons that I used in war to be on America's streets. Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. And if he wants to criticize me for getting an Ivy League education, I'm proud of the fact that my mamaw supported me, that I was able to make something of myself. I'd be ashamed if I was him and I lied about my military service like he did.
But he has a camouflaged hat with his name on it. He's got a camouflage hat with his name on it. You know, it's interesting because it brings up a good point. You really, when you're a politician, have to watch whatever you say, and everything you say has some kind of agenda behind it. There's some point or reason to every word that you utter when you're a politician. And for Tim Walz to come out and say, I want to ban the weapons that I carried into war, he's got to realize that somebody like JD Vance is going to realize he never went to war, and that he's lying, and that he's stealing valor from the men and women who did. And so many of them never came back, but they did carry weapons into war. And none of those weapons, by the way, are popping up on our streets, or at least not on our streets. Maybe in Minnesota. Maybe that's what he's talking about. Maybe the war that he went to was driving down the streets of Minneapolis during the riots that he just allowed to happen. Maybe that's the war he's talking about. Maybe he didn't call in the National Guard because he thought they were gonna call him back up, and he was afraid. Why didn't you call up the National Guard? Well, I thought they might make me go too. Tim Walz is a coward. He's a coward. He doesn't want to serve his country. He doesn't want to protect his citizens. And then he'll go out and tell you he did all these glorious things that he didn't do at all. And all you have to do is look at what happened in Minnesota. And so he's not what you would call fit for office.
Do you think he's fit for office?
Yes.
Speaking of which, another reason why Tim Walz is not fit for office is because he lied about Joe Biden just a few weeks ago. Kamala Harris, before she was anointed the new hope of the Democrat Party, before she was handed basically literally just handed this entire campaign before they shoved Joe Biden out the door, opened the door, kicked him and said, hey, hopefully, well, thanks for everything, old man. Nice knowing you. Here's some ice cream. Try not to screw up the world in the next 90 days. When that happened, that was like 2-3 weeks ago, just before Tim Walz was one of the many governors who met with Joe Biden at the White House. They had a big meeting. That was a big thing. Democrat governors, after the debate, when Donald Trump comes in, he wipes the floor with Joe Biden. Joe Biden has what he calls a bad night. And then, of course, they call in all the governors and they go, look, we need all these governors in here. And they met with Joe Biden and they were supposed to let us know if Joe Biden was okay and fit for office or if Joe Biden was not okay and unfit for office. And Tim Walz was one of the guys who came out in front of the cameras and lied about his condition.
Do you think he's fit for office?
Yes, fit for office. President has 3.5 years of delivering for us, going through what we've all been through. None of us are denying. Thursday night was a bad performance. It was a bad hit, if you will, on that. But it doesn't impact what I believe. He's delivering.
He's delivering. It doesn't impact. He is fit for office. He's had 3.5 years and he's doing well. He's doing well. Isn't it interesting how this same guy who went to the White House just a couple of weeks ago looked at Joe Biden and said, this guy's fine. No problems whatsoever. This guy is good to go. Isn't it interesting that that guy is now standing on stage next to Kamala Harris and that guy is running for Kamala Harris's job as vice president? It's really interesting to me. Was it really a meeting of the governors to assess Joe Biden's condition, or was it more of an audition for who would be Kamala Harris's running mate when she finally got on the top of the ticket? Really, really, really good. Speaking of Joe Biden, a lot of people are also concerned that he's really not in charge. I mean, we know that he hasn't really been in charge for a while, but now that he's not even running for re-election, there's no excuse for him to go anywhere. There's no excuse for him to walk around. There's no excuse for him to be seen by the media, seen by the press. There's no excuse for Joe Biden to hold a press conference or do any campaign events. So we want to know, is this guy really in charge? In fact, one of the reporters yesterday asked Karine Jean-Pierre, White House press secretary, not a DEI hire, by the way, even though she's female, black, and a lesbian, asked her, hey, where is President Biden?
Israel could be under attack any moment from Iran. U.S. troops in Iraq were injured yesterday. Why have we not heard directly from President Biden this week? We know he met with his team yesterday. Yep. We know today's VP Harris's big day, but he's still the president. Where is he?
Well, here's the thing. You have seen the president. He has been very clear about making sure that we continue to try to de-escalate tensions. We just put out two readouts today, a readout yesterday, and our focus right now is to make sure that we continue to try to de-escalate tensions here, and that's what the president has been.
Oh, that's what the president doing. So Joe Biden is de-escalating tensions in the Middle East. By the way, there was a drone bombing in Israel that killed civilians and military personnel. So I guess, I don't know, maybe he doesn't know what de-escalation means. But Joe Biden is in control. Karine Jean-Pierre wants you to know that you've seen him and that he's still the president and that he is working very, very hard for you, even though he's lost his best friend, even though he's lost his partner, because Karine Jean-Pierre also, in an effort to bolster Kamala Harris's campaign, wants you to know that even though Joe Biden is still in charge, the whole time it was him and Kamala.
One person's socialism is another person's neighborly.
They are a strong team together. She's a critical partner to this president. She has been for the past 3.5 years, and they have discussions regularly of both domestic and international importance. And this situation is no different. And so he did offer up his advice, and I'll leave it there.
Does anyone believe that they're having conversations of things that are important? I mean, has anyone ever sought out either of them to talk about anything important at all?
Everybody needs to be woke.
That's not the kind of person you seek advice from when you're trying to talk about anything important. And apparently they're still on the phone every single day. I think they're on the phone because of the money. I think she's like, hey, I want to make sure that this money is actually mine. I want to make sure all this money you raised with George Clooney actually gets transferred to my campaign. In fact, I was watching something or other this morning, and Kevin O'Leary brought up a great point about Kamala Harris and this supposed momentum that she has. They talk a lot about momentum, right? I call it fomentum, F-A-U-X, because I believe it's all been fabricated. The momentum for the Kamala Harris campaign is not there. It's there in theory. It's there in an idea. It's there perhaps in TikTok dances. It's there in the random Megan Thee Stallion concerts that they're allowed to crash so that it makes they can seem more popular. It's there in all of these productions that they put on. But I don't believe there's real momentum for Kamala Harris. I believe it's fomentum. And one of the things that's going to kill her fomentum is when she actually speaks, which she'll have to do. She's actually going to have to speak, and not the same speech over and over again where she says, I know Donald Trump's type, which she's now given at least 4 or 5 times. She gave it again yesterday in Philadelphia. I was a prosecutor, and I worked with fraudsters, and I worked with sexual offenders. So believe me when I say I know Donald Trump's type. It's one speech, but she's eventually going to have to stand on stage with Donald Trump at a debate, or she's going to have to stand on stage with some reporter. She's going to have to give some kind of interview, and she's going to have to explain to people positions that she doesn't have. She's going to have to explain to people items on her agenda that she doesn't understand. She's going to have to explain what she's going to do as president to execute the plan to keep America strong and secure and economically viable, and she doesn't know how to do any of those things. And we know that because according to Karine Jean-Pierre, she's been arm in arm, buddy. They've been the dynamic duo, her and Joe Biden, for the last 3.5 years. And we are not safer. Our border is insecure. Inflation's through the roof. And everybody just lost all their retirement. All because of Kamala Harris. And she can't explain it away. And Kevin O'Leary said, look, she's not going to. They are going to ride the momentum as long as they possibly can because there's money coming in. When they stand on stage and announce Tim Walz, there's money coming in. When she goes out and gives the same speech over and over again with Megan Thee Stallion, there's money that's coming in. And so next week at the DNC, you're not going to hear from Kamala. She'll come out on Thursday. She'll grab the nomination. She'll give the same speech again. I guarantee she'll say, I know Donald Trump's type. She'll call everybody weird. Tim Walz will call everybody weird, creepy, and weird as hell, whatever the weirdness. I don't know. They'll come up with all kinds of variations on the same phrase. And that's it. And then after the DNC, it's going to be time for her to start talking. But they're going to wait till the very last minute. They want all the checks to come in. The minute Kamala Harris opens her mouth and speaks extemporaneously or debates Donald Trump or carries on an interview or is handed a question that she doesn't know the answer to and fumbles the response, it's over. The minute the nervous cackle returns, the minute she's no longer able to suppress her annoying nervous laugh, or she says something silly about a yellow school bus, or she says something ridiculous about not saying Merry Christmas, or she talks about falling out of a coconut tree.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Shoot, I'm back. Sorry, there we go. And the minute she says anything at all, the minute she answers a single question, that's when the fomentum stops and it shifts back to Donald Trump. And we know that Donald Trump has real momentum because Donald Trump hosted a live stream or did a live stream this past weekend in Mar-a-Lago. And he did it with Aiden Ross, who's one of the most popular live streamers on any platform. You name it, YouTube or Kick or wherever he is. And he got the Tesla and the Rolex, and 500,000 people watched live and hundreds of millions of more have watched the clips. And they put it on TikTok and it's everywhere now. And Aiden Ross went viral with Donald Trump and introduced him to a whole new generation, a Gen Z generation of voters who may or may not have understood exactly who Donald Trump was and why he's the best person to lead this country. And Kamala Harris and the people in charge of her campaign who decided they were going to own Gen Z, well, they were so mad, they attempted to they wanted their own live stream. And so they reached out to a guy named Kaye Cenat. And Kaye Cenat said, I'm not doing your live stream. This is from Vibe. Kaye Cenat claims Kamala Harris and the Secret Service are attempting to contact him. He said, quote, I don't know, I'm going to have to clean this up a little bit. I don't know gosh darn poop about politics, my friend. I don't know nothing. This guy was apparently on his live stream, and he said, I've got the effing Secret Service calling me 5 times, friend. I don't know gosh darn poop about politics, my friend. I don't know nothing. I had a bad B word that I've been trying to get on for like the last 2 years that I haven't spoken to in like a year. I haven't spoken to this girl in so gosh darn long, who had the audacity to text me, "We need you as a part of the campaign." So this young kid, who's a very popular live streamer, likes to live stream his video games, has never been political ever, is getting phone calls, multiple phone calls, 5, he claims, from the Secret Service because they want to set up a live stream with Kamala Harris. And a girl he's been trying to get with, a girl he's been trying to hook up with, calls him up and says, "We need help with the campaign." You know what he thought it was? A campaign for a clothing line. He thought it was an advertising campaign. She's like, "No, dog, this is the presidential campaign, and we need you to live stream with Vice President, oopsie, I almost pulled a Kamala, with Vice President Kamala Harris so we can make her president." And he said, no. He said, "No way. I'm not doing that." Donald Trump invited Aiden Ross to come to Mar-a-Lago to do a live stream, and the dude bought a suit, wore a tie, brought his entire family with him. They all dressed up. They drove down to Mar-a-Lago. They brought a Rolex and a Tesla Cybertruck wrapped up as a gift to the president, who, let's be honest, is a billionaire and could probably buy all the Cybertrucks he wants. And they did a live stream, and it was fantastic. Kaye gets a call from the Secret Service. "Would you be interested in live streaming with Kamala Harris?" He goes, "Hell no. I am not doing that. I'm not political. No way, Jose." And you tell me there's momentum. You tell me there's momentum for Kamala Harris. By the way, I texted my good friend Laura Trump yesterday after the live stream, and I said, "Hey, if I buy your father-in-law a Tesla, can I live stream with him too?" And she wrote back, "LOL, yes!" exclamation point. So then I wrote back, "Okay, cool. What could I get for a used Kia?" Because I can't really afford a Tesla. Speaking of momentum, let's take a look at these states, by the way, that Kamala Harris believes she's leading in. Pennsylvania being one. I hear all the time, you know what? You turn on the news, and I tell everyone in my family, please don't watch the news, because it's just, they're lying to you. They're making stuff up. They're fabricating poll numbers. They're trying to tell you that Kamala Harris is in a position to win. Kamala Harris is in no position to win because she needs Pennsylvania, but her anti-Semitic advisors told her she couldn't pick Josh Shapiro. So now she's stuck with super liberal Tim Walz.
One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
That's her running mate. That's not going to win her Pennsylvania. I don't care how often she hauls John Fetterman out to talk about the Steelers. It's not going to win her Pennsylvania. And I know that because she's currently not winning Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at some of these states here real quick. These are the battleground states. Arizona, Trump v. Harris. Donald Trump is up on the Real Clear Politics average, which is a culmination, an average of all the polls. He's up plus 2.8. He's leading in every single poll except for the Bloomberg Morning Consult poll. Donald Trump takes Arizona if the election were held today and if these polls are accurate. Let's go to Georgia. Georgia, which I don't believe is a battleground state at all, but they say, okay, it's statistically tied, but Donald Trump has an edge. He's got the lead. He's got plus 0.8. He beats Kamala Harris in Georgia as well. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to, Michigan should be a good one. I believe Kamala's winning in Michigan. She is by 2 percentage points. Again, a statistical tie with Donald Trump ahead in a couple of these polls and them in a dead heat in the Fox News poll. Where is all this momentum for Kamala Harris? So far, the only thing she's winning is the bluest state on the list. Nevada, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Donald Trump is dominating in Nevada. Trump versus Harris, Trump plus 4. With 47.5%. And the people in Nevada are not going to fall for Kamala Harris's socialism. In New Hampshire, we'll skip that. In North Carolina, we'll go to North Carolina. Look at this. Donald Trump, a solid 3-point lead in North Carolina. I don't believe that North Carolina is a swing state at all. I don't believe that anyone in North Carolina is looking at Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and going, man, we want that. We want that here in the Tar Heel state. That's going to be great policy for the booming banking center of Charlotte and the Research Triangle area. All these people moving to North Carolina with their jobs, they're going to love more taxes. Minnesota, the home of Tim Walz. All right, she has a pretty strong lead in Minnesota. Donald Trump is trailing by 8 points. Probably Minnesota is a lock for Kamala Harris. But again, I never called that a battleground anyway. Let's go to the important one. Let's go to the biggie. Let's go to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, where Kamala Harris went to yesterday with Tim Walz, with Josh, too Jewish to be Vice President Shapiro, and John Fetterman. Let's see what happens. In Pennsylvania, Donald Trump is leading every single poll. Pennsylvania, the one state that you need to win, Donald Trump is leading. He's leading in this poll and that poll, and it's tied in this poll, and he's leading that poll and this poll, and he's up by plus 1.8, which is a statistical dead heat. But it favors Donald Trump. So where is all this momentum that Kamala Harris is supposed to have? Where's all this momentum? The only state she's winning right now that's a battleground is Michigan, which we probably knew she was going to win anyway, and Minnesota, where her vice presidential candidate is from. And a lot of people in Minnesota aren't big fans of Tim Walz, so that state may actually pop up and fall into play. Live streamers are avoiding calls from the Secret Service. They don't want to be seen with her. Donald Trump has a steady line of streamers who are lined up ready to go to Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump has a steady line of young Gen Z men and women who would love to sit down with him and introduce him to their millions and millions of rabid online young voting eligible fans and tell them why Donald Trump is the future and why Kamala Harris is going to make them pay more taxes, not going to keep them safe, destroy whatever future that they have. Why she's going to censor social media, why she's going to take away TikTok when Donald Trump is going to protect it. They are more than willing and able, and they are being invited to and embraced by the Donald Trump campaign. I don't buy that Kamala Harris owns Gen Z because they're all singing coconut songs and doing dances on TikTok. Donald Trump has more followers, he has more support, he has more momentum, he has more likes, and he has a more, I would say, in tune with Gen Z campaign staff than Kamala Harris does. Not to mention he has a solid message. Close the border, drill baby drill, no tips, or no tax on tips. That's another thing. Donald Trump was on Fox and Friends today, and he reminded everybody, listen, if you're old, I'm not going to tax your Social Security, and if you're young, I'm not going to tax your tips. That's a winning strategy.
People on Social Security are being killed. And one of the things I'm doing is no tax for seniors on Social Security, and I'll get it done quickly. No tax for seniors on Social Security. And for all your waiters and waitresses and everybody else out there, drivers, we're not going to have any tax on tips. No tax on tips. Remember that. No tax on tips. But we're going to have no tax for seniors on Social Security. And they are ruining, they're going to destroy Social Security because millions of people are coming onto our country and they're putting them on Social Security.
Okay, so Donald Trump is going on live streams talking to the waiter and waitress generation and telling them you're not going to get taxed on your tips. And then he's going on Fox News and every other TV station with an average mean audience of plus 69. And he's telling them you're not going to get taxed on your Social Security. Yet Kamala Harris has the momentum. You know why? You know why Kamala Harris has momentum? Because of these cool camo hats with the orange, safety orange Harris-Walz written on it. That's cool. That is the most iconic political hat in America. I got to tell you, listen, before we wrap this up, let's talk about iconic things. Let's talk about Donald Trump's iconic speech at the RNC with this quote.
America's future will be bigger.
Oh, wait.
America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before.
Yeah, that's the iconic quote that we put on the Brighter Future collection from Trump's RNC speech, which is available now at, you guessed it, Mark Kaye Shop. And I'll tell you, yesterday I bought my wife I'm just going to be honest with you. The Brighter Future signature Terry hoodie is probably one of the most popular items we've ever created at the Mark Kaye Shop. This is the whole quote right on the front. It goes from the neckline all the way down to the waistline. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before. Trump 2024. It comes in pink and gray. The pink is infinitely more popular. But this is again one of the most popular things we've ever made. We have our own camo too. Our Brighter Future camo tee with this on the back. That is also a very, very popular item, and it's available now in a multitude of sizes. I got one of those for my daughter, although I kind of want one for myself too. So I may have to go back and get that. The MAGA King collection is still there. The Mark Kaye Saves the Republic t-shirt Look, you can see if you're watching online, you can see in the corner all these sales are popping up. There's stickers, there's mugs, there's Katriot apparel, there's the Mark Kaye signature collection. I got myself one of these rope caps too, because, rope cap, when you hit a certain age, and when the rope cap is cool. When you hit that certain age of the rope cap, you go out to the golf course, you hang out with your buddies at the club, whatever. You want a nice rope cap. And so I made a Mark Kaye signature style navy rope cap that I ordered. So I'm going to be donning that on an upcoming stream. But go to markkaysshop.com, markkaysshop.com, and you can have these orders delivered directly to you. Use coupon code Merry Christmas.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
Merry Christmas, all one word, will get you 10% off your entire order. So literally load up your cart. Get everything you can in there because you save 10% off of everything. And then you can be like me. This is not as iconic a cap as the Harris-Walz brand new camo cap, but maybe one day it will be. Listen, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast today. Make sure that you've subscribed. Make sure that you've downloaded. Make sure that you've liked. If you've been watching online on any of our platforms, YouTube or Rumble or X or anywhere else, make sure that you are getting this content delivered daily. Not just the daily show, not just the daily podcast, not just Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, but all of our short videos and other videos. And we've got a whole crop of stuff that we are going to be bringing to you to keep you entertained, to keep you informed, to keep you inspired, to keep you enlightened, and most importantly, because one of your patriotic duties, we always say the Katriot motto is save the Republic, have fun doing it, and I think we do both brilliantly every single day. But there's a third part of that, and that is to spread the message. You have to proselytize America. You have to proselytize conservatism. You have to go out there and make more Katriots. And there's two ways to do that: procreation, or by going out and telling people how great patriotism is, how great this country is, how great our republic is, and how it's in jeopardy, and how we've got to work together to save it, and how it's easy to do, but we've got to do it. And it's a constant battle. It's a constant struggle. It's something we've always got to be aware of. We've got to be constantly vigilant and on our toes. And the easiest way to convince other people that patriotism is the way to go. Patriotism is patriotism. America is the land of the free and the home of the brave. And if you love your liberty and you love your freedom and you're willing to fight to defend it, then you're one of us and we want you to be one of us. The easiest way to do that is to share with them this podcast. Share with them one of our videos. Send them to markkaye.com so they can sign up for our Katriot daily emails. I do all the heavy lifting. You don't have to just repeat every word I say. I have already said it and I recorded it in a handy-dandy, easily shareable social media fashion. So share and spread the message, and let's grow this movement. Let's grow the number of Katriots. Let's grow the number of people who are liberty-loving and freedom-defending and fighting every single day to save the Republic.